It seems like we're not just missing out only on TFCon. For people that don't know, today would have been the Saturday of TFCon, and we would have been knee deep in the dealer room and hanging out and guests and everything and panels. But on top of all of that, we're also going to be missing out on San Diego Comic-Con. And I think that San Diego Comic-Con probably would have been this grand stage, and we wouldn't have to do all this digging and all these crazy things that are popping up now from Walmart listings. And we're diving again into it here with Studio Series Deluxe Walmart listings of what potentially could be part of the rumored expansion of the Studio Series into the 1986 Transformers movie. Now, we talked about this in early July last month when we had this interesting listing of a leader class Grimlock and a deluxe class Gnaw, and it leaned more towards that of the Quintesson throne room, judge room kind of situation. A couple weeks after that, we had this interesting looking G1 Cyclonus that didn't have the hard points that are normally found on Siege and Earthrise toys that are used for like the weaponizers and everything. Something that looked a very nice looking Cyclonus toy that was way more accurate than any Cyclonus toy we've gotten up to that point. And now we have more of these listings here that add more flame, or gasoline in this case, to the fire. We have a listing for a deluxe Kup, a Jazz, and a Blurr. Now, this leans even harder into the suggestion that this is going to be a 1986 movie stuff. Obviously, Kup and Blurr, two key players, two characters that made their debut in the 1986 movie, and even Jazz. I mean, he was there. He got sucked in on his moon base by Unicron, so he was a player in the game. And what's great news about this is that we haven't had a decent Jazz toy in a long while. We've had Jazz toys. They just weren't really that great or kind of controversial if you look at it. But now we got something that's probably, if Studio Series is doing what it normally does, which is be very accurate to screen representation, are we finally going to get that perfect Jazz toy that we always wanted, and it's not going to be before Masterpiece gives it to us? That will be very interesting to see. I mean, up to this point, look, G1 Grimlock, Gnaw, Kup, Blurr, Cyclonus, those aren't licensed vehicles. Those are things that they could get away with. Jazz with his GT Porsche, that's going to be interesting to see how they sculpt that, if all of this is legit. Again, all this information comes from TFW 2005 board member Lego TF Guy, and the listings were found from the Walmart listings through the cell phone app. So this really begs the question, like, what are we going to get? Is this going to be legit? And if this is legit, that's a lot of stuff coming. That is a lot of figures. I mean, I feel that we know more than what we know is actually legitimate. I mean, on top of that, we had past listings for a Jolt, for Dino. These are obviously Michael Bay movie designs. For another Bumblebee. So there's still so much from the Studio Series line to be revealed to us if any of this is legitimate. And it goes back to the beginning of the conversation that I had here, that if we would have had a San Diego Comic-Con, we probably would be slowly learning about all of this through panels and reveals. And yeah, this is some crazy stuff. Again, it's very exciting because we'd finally be getting some really good examples of these characters. Like, I mean, think about all the Kup figures we've gotten thus far in the retail standpoint, and how now we'll finally get, something that'll be a lot more in tune with how he looked on the TV screen, and it's this, and the movie screen, and the same thing with Blurr also. Be very interesting to see how this goes about. And then, of course, what I always say is, how it affects the secondary market afterwards, because how many people are going to want, let's say, their Titans Return Blurr or their Generations Blurr, and the same thing with Kup. How many people are going to want their, I think it was called Hunt for the Decepticon Jazz. I think it was part of that, of the Generations line at the time. all of those are going to end up in the secondary market if these ones are real winners. If these ones really knock it out of the park. The listing here is 1884. Again, typical Walmart bizarre numbering, but cues in about right with the deluxe price point for Generation Studio Series stuff. I'm excited. I'm really intrigued because this, again, I love the 86 movie, and anything that really gives me some really good representation of the 86 movie visually, I'm all for. And I guess this also gives us an indicator of where Hasbro and Takara are going to be going with these characters, at least for the immediate future. Don't expect any Masterpiece Jazz, Blurr, or Kup anytime soon if we're getting these deluxes in the near future. So it also gives us a short-term kind of indicator of what's going to be happening with these characters from the more higher price point. But yeah, this is very fascinating, and it really makes me want to learn more about this, because we've been speculating like crazy. There's so many rumors, but it's starting to, if all of this is factual, this is starting to shape up to be a very interesting future for the Studio Series line. I think I'm going to talk about this more. I'm going to be doing a stream Saturday night, 7 or 8 o'clock Eastern time. Keep track on my Twitter. I'll have updates on it. Otherwise, just subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell. You'll get a notification when we go live. And we'll do a little live hangout to celebrate the lack of TFCon that we are having this year, at least in the immediate future. So let me know what you think about all of this, and hope to see you at the stream later tonight.